The lessons that the universe brings are not necessarily the ones we have consciously called to ourselves. This is I forgot to, or neglected to press the record button at today's class when we were doing our Zoom contact together. And so I am re-recording this, or not re-recording it, but recording it as a video. So I'll probably say some things differently. I'll probably leave some things out. I'll probably put some other things in. And so those of you who attended this morning's class will probably see this a little bit differently if you decide to see this again yourselves. And those of you who didn't, well, we are in a different time, in a different space. And aren't we in a different time, a different space anyway? So here we are. We'll begin with a prayer as we always do in Unity. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I sent to most of you who are on our mailing list a list of some meditations and reflections that I've done over the past couple of weeks or so. And please feel free to pass those on if you'd like to. And if there are any special, I use that word advisedly, but if there are any particular meditations or reflections that you would like to ask me to follow up on, please feel free to let me know that. Because that's probably something that I need to learn something about myself as well. So don't hesitate to do that. Please don't hesitate to ask. And I will do whatever I can along with the way the Spirit might move me in that particular direction. We're all in this together, whatever this is. But it's bigger than each one of us, personally speaking. It's larger than what we might even begin to imagine. It has shaken up the system so much and so deeply that there's no going back to the way things were. I do not know what form the future might take. But it will be different. And since we are creating the future in our own minds, in our own hearts, then we can decide. Maybe not decide exactly what that's going to look like, because that's a racial consciousness that's involved with that, not just each one of us as individuals. But we can make a decision about how we're going to hold that in fear or in love, in compassion or in separateness, as a single planet or as beings set apart from one another. I came across a news clip sometime last week, and it was from the bit I got out of it was one of those little things that kind of goes along the bottom of the story, that some government officials were very upset because it seems as if China was hacking into our database information on our research on the coronavirus. And I thought to myself, well, isn't it interesting that we're protecting our information? And I thought to myself, well, who cares? Aren't we trying to do this together with one another? It's not I got mine, you get yours. How ridiculous. What lengths do we have to go to in order to be able to be separate? How ridiculous it would sound to say, well, some of us are walking some of us home, rather than we're all walking one another home, because I mean, that's what we got. I got mine, now you get yours. We're either all in this together or we're not. Either I hold everybody in the light or I hold no one in the light, including myself. I'd like to share something from the first book, I Am the Word. Came across this a while back. I became so enraptured in the message of the first book from Paul Selig, I Am the Word, and the guides, that I put it on my Kindle account. And if you're familiar with that, the books are recorded electronically. And one of the nice things about it that I like anyway is that you can highlight the book electronically, and it will print out for you all of the highlights that you had. So I actually did that, and I printed out the highlights of the book, the first book, and I printed them out and I cut them all out and I put them in a little book myself. So I kind of have my own condensed version of I Am the Word. And I did that so I wouldn't forget any of this. But of course, what happened was after I pasted everything on this, I put it up on a shelf someplace and forgot all about it. Until recently. Here's what it has to say. The Christ has come again in man. This is the time. This is the time. This is the time. And you are the vehicles of this manifestation to the extent that you align to the gift that is being given to you. Get that? That you align to the gift that is being given to you. You are the first in a generation of conscious beings coming into form, and you will make it possible for those that follow to exist more easily in the higher frequencies that are now available. This is a gift, but this is a massive change. It is a tidal wave of light ascending into you as you ascend into it. You are all rising. Everything rises to the light of the Christ consciousness now. This is promised. So we said the chapter was creation. We have spoken to you about time and about elasticity of time and the fact that time is a creation of man that has been required for him. The Christ has come again in man. This is the truth. This is the time. This is the time. This is the time. In our first class, somebody asked me if I remember the page number that came from. And the fact is that I didn't. And I thought they were falling kind of into the same trap that I fell into, is if I could just write that down again, if I could just remember that, if I could just make sure I don't forget that one, then everything would be okay. And the truth is that the vibrational level that resonates with you and me is already here. It's already here. It's not the words. But again, it is a fascinating thing that what we are doing here transcends time and space. It goes beyond the thinking mind. It goes beyond the intellect. It goes beyond what you can pin down. It goes beyond what you can define for yourself. It goes beyond what we can define for one another. And so here we are on page 174. And I'd like to start with a little bit of an overlap. Because what we're going to be doing is we're finishing up, if it makes any difference. I know Jamie likes to say, what sentence are we on? We're finishing up what's called here in the book day 13 and moving into day 14, which is, in a sense, just kind of an arbitrary choice. We are, in this work together, transcending time and space. I noticed that this morning, and it is very helpful to me, I kind of feed on the energy that people give me. So when I am standing in front of a group and you are sending me love and caring and empathy and all sorts of other good stuff, that, and even your questions kind of nurture me and stir up that energy in me and let it flow, let it move forward. And I could really feel that this morning. Of course, I could feel it at other times as well, but it let me know that we are, first of all, going beyond space, even though we are not physically connected with one another. Doesn't matter a whole lot. And then by doing this again this morning, this is kind of class number 2, that we are transcending time. That this is not a different message necessarily. Many of the words are going to be the same and many will be different. But we are transcending time in what we are learning because all of you are here right now as well. All of you are here right now as well. We do not address the divine self. She knows her business better than you do. We do address the personality, who would claim herself in retribution, who needs to realign her belief in what may be so that the heart may sing its new song. And here's an interesting piece, because there's kind of a piece of hidden agenda here. They say we address the personality, but the personality can't change itself. The ego cannot change itself. And the divine doesn't need to change because it already is. In A Course in Miracles, I think this is just mentioned once, but there is an aspect of the self that is called the decider. It is that energy or that space or that place within us that decides where I'm going to go with this. Do I go to a place of higher vibration or do I go to a place of lower vibration? It's a place of choice. And it kind of bridges the gap between the divine and the personality. It's neither one. And somehow or another it's both to some extent. But I'm presented with this choice of what am I going to do with this? Where am I going to go with this? Am I going to go to a higher vibration? Am I going to go to a lower vibration? For instance, when I discovered that I didn't press the record button, I immediately went into because it was right at the end of the class, it was done. I went into a place of lower vibration. What's the matter with you? Something wrong with you, you dumbass. What'd you do that for? What didn't you do that for? You should have I did write myself a reminder, but I forgot to look at the reminder. And then I realized I had a choice. I was still angry, I was still annoyed with myself. But I had a choice, because I always do a class reflection anyway. And you could do this a little bit differently today if you want to. You could do it as a video recording. That will be a reflection of what went on in the class, but it also will be a reflection of what might have come about because of the class and because of what's going on with you. Or you could not do it at all. You could stew in your own juices for the rest of the day if you want to. You could be angry at yourself for the rest of the day if you want to. And I must admit, there is still some of that personal annoyance that's rattling around inside. So even though I have a choice of going into a higher vibration or a lower vibration, and all of the messages that might go with that, that does not necessarily mean that my emotions or the energy around my particular feelings are going to change right away either. They're not necessarily, okay? Sometimes they will, but they're not going to necessarily change that quickly, that drastically, that overwhelmingly. Sometimes, even though I choose a higher vibration, my feelings might remain in that lower vibrational state for a while. It's kind of like if you hit a bell with a hammer and you throw the hammer away, the bell is still vibrating. Just because you threw the hammer away, the cause of the difficulty or the noise, just because you threw that away doesn't mean that the noise is going to stop or that the vibration is going to immediately change. Even when I put my fingers on the bell to stop that old vibration, the old vibration is still there for a while. And even though I introduce a new vibration, let's say of hitting another bell differently, the old vibration is still rattling around there for a while. Doesn't completely take over yet. So we're being encouraged to be aware of the decider. Be aware of that part of us that makes this decision, and know that even though I make that decision, it might not change my emotions or my feelings right away, but I can decide to hold this differently. How can I see this differently? How can I hold this differently? We do not address the divine self. She knows her business better than you do. We do address the personality, who would claim herself in retribution, in punishment, in limitation, who needs to realign her belief in what may be so that the heart may sing its new song. Again, we are opening up to a different reality here, opening up to what might be so. This book and the book like these keep on reinforcing this whole idea of being open to the possibility. Well, I can't see this any differently right now than I am at the moment, or I can't seem to change where I'm at right now at the moment. I can't seem to choose a higher vibration at the moment. But can you open yourself up to the possibility of choosing that differently? That's what it's asking. That's kind of as far as we can push our personality self up to that realm of possibility. And once we do that, we open the door to the divine consciousness taking over. Again, that's a decision we make. Can I open myself up to the possibility? To the belief of what may be so. That is so, so powerful. We don't realize that all the time, but it is tremendously powerful. And then the guides are saying, now we love you each, and we do not say this lightly. We do not speak of affection or Valentine's Day cards. We speak of love as the aspect of the Creator we recognize in truth. We know who you are, and we love you as you are, and you do not change because we tell you to. We love you regardless. We only offer and extend a hand to take you over the gulf that you have created between you and your own divinity. The gulf that you've created between you and your own divinity. I just had a flash of a picture of Jesus when he was walking on the water, and Peter on the boat along with the other apostles, recognizing it was God, it was Jesus, and Peter, in a sense, saying, I want to do that, and Jesus putting his hand on and saying, come on. And Peter taking those first tentative steps on the water and actually walking on the water. But then saying, oh no, I can't do this, starting to sink. The gulf that you have created between you and your own divinity. How far away it seems at times. How locked in I seem to be to my identity as a personality, as an ego structure, or even as who you think I am. Even though I know who you think I am is not who I am, I become attached to who you think I am. But in actuality, it's who I think you think I am. Notice we've taken another step away from reality. Extend a hand to take you over the gulf that you have created between you and your own divinity. And again, that's not a judgment, that's not blame. It's simply the realization that if I perceive myself as not being there, if I cannot seem to grasp it or be grasped by that truth, then again, it's not a bad thing, but I have created a distance between my awareness and my divine consciousness. So I don't need to even discuss or take a look at why I did that or how I did that. Can I open myself up to the possibility that the gulf between my awareness and my divine self is being closed, is being taken over? Can I allow these guiding spirits in my life, whether I want to call them angels or it doesn't matter what I call them, that can bring me, that can help decrease the divide, the distance. What Course in Miracles calls the journey without distance. Sometimes referred to that as the distance between my head and my heart. But it's even more than that, because it's not about, it's about my awareness of things. How aware am I as a divine being, or as a divine being? How often, how easily do I forget? Again, not out of judgment. I know a while ago I got myself into practice when I was going grocery shopping. When I get out of the car, I would deliberately remind myself that I am a divine being and so are you. I am the light of the world and so are you. And that I wanted to bring that conscious presence to you, into all people that I would bump into. And I would forget that a lot. But for some reason, that trigger always helped me. So I try and remember that other times. When I'm getting out of the car, when I walk out of the door, when I wake up in the morning. As you stand on the new shore, you welcome others to you. So how appropriate that is for each one of us. As you stand on the new shore, if you had a chance to look at that last video by Paul Selig and the guys called Humanity at the Crossroads, kept repeating again and again and again the words of the Christ consciousness in the book of Revelations. Behold, I make all things new. Behold, I make all things new. And as you stand on the new shore, you welcome others to you. Thank you for being here with me. Thank us all for being here together. Because you have been embodied, you vibrate as love and you sing the song of love. I've been reflecting on this quite a bit lately, that we've all chosen to be here at this time. at this time in mankind's evolution, our racial consciousness, it's not just that we're caught up in this time. Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening? We deliberately decided, I will be here at this time. I chose to be here. So did you. The whys in some ways are unimportant, unless we are really truly open to the lessons that are being revealed to us at this moment. You have been embodied. Because you have been embodied, you vibrate as love and you sing the song of love. You can't not do that. You might not always be aware of it, but there it is. You see each one before you as she truly is. Now again, that's a choice we make. Sometimes I'm going to forget. Sometimes my personality is going to get lost in your personality. I understand that. But I'm also being offered the choice of noticing or looking at you or seeing you as the miracle that you truly are. Having an expression of herself. Having an expression. In other words, the miracle that you are is an expression of the divine. And your expression of the divine goes through the lens or goes through the filter of your personality and your ego self that you have invented, that you've created. It doesn't disappear. But instead of becoming your identity, it becomes the lens through which the divine light shows itself through you. You get the difference between that? The light that shines through you shines through that lens of your personality, not as the truth of who you are, but as the unique aspect that you've created that the divine light shines through. And get this last piece. You see each one before you as she truly is, a miracle having an expression of herself in this insane and magical and perfect school that you have all agreed to attend. What a beautiful expression. This insane and magical and perfect school that you have all agreed to attend. Just sit with that one for a minute. You don't have to decide what it means. You don't have to dissect it or understand it even. This insane and magical and perfect school you have all agreed to attend. Now honoring this and the agreement to be here with your fellows. See, we not only chose to be here ourselves, we chose in some ways to be here with all of these others. To be with all of these other disguises. Your disguise might, that's not Jerry Boylan, that's a divine being disguised as Jerry Boylan. Or that's Donald or Hillary or Goofy or Joe or whoever it might happen to be. Now, I can get lost in the disguise just as I get lost in my disguise. But what a wonderful thing it would be to be able to see through that and say, thank you for being here. You are a blessing. You are my teacher. You are teaching me compassion. You are teaching me patience. You are teaching me non-judgmentalness. What would it be like to be in that space? Thank you for that. Thank you for being here for me with that. Thank you. Thank you. What would it be like to be there in that place? Well, yeah, I had another piece I'd like to share with you. This is sort of the human side of what I just mentioned. Each of us is a complex stew of changing emotions and thoughts, a mortal being unsure of our place in the universe, longing for something that we cannot even name. Sometimes we experience joy and strength. Sometimes we are sad and confused. None of this is cause for dismay. It is who we are, or who we identify with, or what we identify with, and has been so since the first humans found themselves under the night sky with a desire to understand as vast as the sky itself. Yet then as now, our capacity to fathom the limitless universe is bound by the laws of the limited world. Human history is the story of abundant longing and insufficient answers. That's great, isn't it? Abundant longing and insufficient answers. Again, that's when we're just working out of our personalities. To long for peace or God or spirituality is quite natural. To feel a certain loneliness for a nameless friend or an emptiness that cannot be filled with the ways of the world is instinctive. Especially today, with the accelerated pace of human activity and technology and what is going on with the world today especially, we may feel a deep spiritual hunger. Yet many of us don't know what to do when a longing for spirituality settles briefly in our hearts. We may not even know what it is. With the first pangs of hunger, we rush to fill the empty space with something, anything, rather than float quietly on our backs in the mysterious waters where our souls live. Or as some spiritual teachers have suggested, being willing to rest in the mystery. In some ways, we do that every Sunday morning, kind of in a funny, joking way. We're all explorers. We're all kind of spelunking together. And at the same time, there is part of us that knows all of this work not only transcends time and space, but goes beyond our intellectual knowing of things, far beyond that. I was watching another news clip this morning, and it was some pictures coming from the Hubble telescope, which was celebrating its some sort of anniversary. I can't remember which one. But here was, and these were just recent pictures that were taken. Here was a star being formed. Star being formed. Billions and billions and billions of light years away from us. In fact, we're just getting the light of it. Might have happened a billion years ago, because that transcends time. It might have happened a long time ago. We're just seeing it right now. It's just being revealed. But it was a gorgeous, just gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful picture. The colors, the shapes, the you could almost feel the motion, the energy. And I thought about that as here's something that exists outside of my realm, even outside of my imagination. And yet here it is. How beautiful. How beautiful. Now, why can't I just say that about you? How beautiful. This insane and magical and perfect school you have all agreed to attend. Wow. Now, honoring this and the agreement to be here with your fellows in your relationships and your encounters as ones who learn gives you each permission to be where you are at each stage of your learning. To be where you are, letting others be where they are. Oh, that's perfect just where they're supposed to be. Not where I want them to be, not the way I'm resonating with that, but it's perfect. Perfect, how can you say that? Yet they're in the perfect place for their soul's learning. I might not be able to understand that. I might not be able to grasp that. I might not even be close to that. Excuse me. I mean, how often have we thought about that about ourselves? Here I am in this messed up situation, and my soul said, "This is perfect for your learning." Well, that sucks. This is perfect for your learning. Now, I could even go so far as to say you created this for your learning, but that gets really, really crazy and messed up sometimes. We get into a lot of judgment and blame and a lot of looking for answers with that one. Even though that might be true, or even though that is true. But whatever the situation is that you find yourself in, it is perfect for your learning and your growth. Perfect. This insane and magical and perfect school you have all agreed to attend. I remember Ram Dass told this story on himself one time. He was talking to a lady by the name of Pat Rodegast, who was a channel for a spirit by the name of Emmanuel. And Emmanuel is this wonderful, wonderful, loving guide, wise beyond dimension. And Ram Dass was talking to Emmanuel and said something to the effect of, said, Emmanuel said, I find myself in with these people in this situation that seems so so mundane. They don't seem to be part of my path. They seem to just be getting in the way of everything. How can I change that? And Emmanuel's answer to Ram Dass was very, very simple. He said, Ram Dass, you're in school. When are you going to decide to take the curriculum? Oh, I'm in school. When am I going to decide to take the lessons? Not to avoid the lessons, not to run away from them, not even to try to explain what they mean. But when am I going to learn whatever it is I need to learn from the lessons that I'm creating for myself? You're in school. This insane and magical and perfect school that you have all agreed to attend. Now, honoring this in the agreement to be here with your fellows, in your relationships and your encounters as ones who learn, gives you each permission to be where you are at each stage of your learning, or your perception of where you are. Wherever you are is perfect. I forgot to press the record button this morning. It's perfect. For you and for me. I don't feel that way all the time. But you cannot expect a 7-year-old to do college math. You cannot expect a child without the map to find her way home, or me without my GPS. We are offering you a map right now to your own self, to your own way to you, so that you may welcome your fellows. Isn't that interesting? Once you know who you are truly, you can invite anybody else to be part of the picture. But as long as you're attached or overly identified with your personality, with your ego structure, you're always going to get lost in somebody else's. Now we ask you this, as we continue our text. We understand that there are questions that emerge from the reader. If you would in your mind, you don't even have to write this down. If you would in your mind, Set the intention now that these questions are being responded to by us as you require them. Right now, not 3 years ago when the book was published. Oh yeah, well they said that 3 years ago, but it doesn't have anything to do with that. Right now, transcending time and space. If you would in your mind set the intention now that these questions are being responded to by us as you require them, we will attend to you as you are, where you are, and incorporate as we can in the dictation we give through Paul. And also, I might add, through the dictation I might give to Jerry or anybody else you might come across that might clarify some of the issues that you might be struggling with. The answers are here. You are creating them. You are creating the openness. You are creating the space to be able to hear, to be able to sense, to be able to know what it is you need to know. Beyond time and space, beyond the intellect, beyond the rational. Now you may ask how this is done. The membrane that you know as time is permeable. You are traveling all over the place in your expression without your body as your consciousness all the time. The difference is that we know who you are, and we may attend to you where you are and continue our teaching as needed. Wherever you might find yourself, whatever perception you might find yourself in, here we are with you. The way Jesus put it was, do not be afraid, little flock. I will never leave you alone. And I always found that to have sort of a double meaning with me. I will never leave you alone. I'm going to keep poking you until you wake up to the truth of who you are. That's one side. Oh, I'll never leave you alone. And I will never leave you alone because you are not alone. You are always in my presence. You are always in the presence of love. You're always in the presence of light. You're always in the presence of peace. And so as we close day 13, we'll also close our session this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, or whenever it is you're watching this. Know that this didn't happen a couple of minutes ago, or an hour ago, or 2 hours ago. It's happening right now. We are connected to one another in this moment. We are vibrationally connected to one another in this moment. And just sit with that for a moment. Beyond words, beyond thought, beyond space, beyond time. Namaste. Be at peace. Stay well. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be free of suffering. May all beings remember who they are.